it's time to put it all together. Yay! So exciting. So there's a lot to get through here, and I have some notes because I want to make sure that I get it all. But we're going to be going through the first part, let's say step 1A, step 1B of the breakthrough codes, of the breakthrough session. I'm going to bring up the client's workbook and be predominantly working through that, because all the rest of the stuff is there to support you, so that you truly understand the most important piece of this entire process. Because if you and when you nail this, everything else is easy. Seriously. This is the key piece to take your time with, to slow down with, to remember one important thing throughout the entire process. Hang on. Ta-da! It might be reversed for you, but problem hat. To remember as the coach, to put your problem hat on, to be trying on the problem of the client and to be considering how is it that this client has not been able to solve their own problem up until this point. How is it a problem? How is it a problem for them in their life? Not in your life, but for them in their life, right? And to be not getting bought into the story and not all of that. The good thing is the way that this is structured is it really cuts out a lot of the content that's not necessary and just gets straight to the heart of what we need. So this is a powerful process. And this is what I want to remind you. Always be trying on the problem of the client and considering how is it this a problem for them and how haven't they been able to solve it. Because when we understand how they haven't been able to solve it and how they've created their problem, we're going to be able to help them solve it. So, let me share screen with you. All right. So this is slowly coming up. There we go. And this is, let me take that out. Okay, cool. Awesome. This is the workbook, the client workbook. Okay, so you write their name there. You'll see that there's, opportunity to put the date in all through the top when you're at the different sections. Obviously, when you do it in the breakthrough codes weekend, it's all in one shot. We're going straight through, other than having a few little breaks when necessary. So on that, what you'll be doing as the coach is you'll be doing 1A and 1B all the way through, preferably. So it's going to be two hours. Enough. Now, could it take longer? It could. However, set the intention that it's 2 hours. And because of the way that this is set up, it's pretty well guaranteed that it's going to be about 2 hours. As long as you don't let the client go too much off track, you'll let them share what they need to, what's important, what's relevant, and you cut them off when you need to. So remember to frame up before you start, hey, listen, I'm going to be asking you questions. Those questions may be the same questions, and you may think that you've given me the answer. However, I may ask it to you again, because what I'm doing is getting you outside of what you know and getting you deep into the deep-rooted structure of the problem. And so therefore that means that I will continue to ask you the same questions, such as how is that a problem, over and over and over again. So just be prepared that that's coming. But on top of that, there may be times when I cut you off, and that's because I just have enough. If you feel that you really need to share, then please tell me that you really feel that you need to share this, and I'm happy to let you go for it. However, the power of this process is that we don't need to get to so much of the content. We just need enough. And then it's all about being able to get how you do what you do so that we can help you make those changes really quickly. Sound good? So this part is not going to happen. Now, remember, when you're doing this, because you don't have a contract, you're not going to be paying, you guys have paid for this program, you aren't paying the coach directly. But you're invested into this program. You're invested into becoming an awesome breakthrough coach, and you've put your hand up to say you're willing to be a great client. So normally, this is so important. You have to have a signed contract. You have to have a payment plan or paid in full. Even better, paid in full, because it's full investment, right? It's like they can't back out and not pay. Fully invested always works better. The only time for me personally breakthrough sessions have not worked is when people have not paid. So there has to be an investment energetically. So that's so key. So you're going to first start with the assessment, work on what's the breakthrough that we're working with. You guys already know that initially. When you're working with your clients, you're going to understand which is their primary and their lead rep systems. And we ask these questions here really quickly, right? You don't need to take your time, just ask them quickly. Which operating equipment for the very first time, which one is mostly you? Look at the equipment and read the instructions, listen to or ask for an explanation, or do it and learn by trial and error. Boom, they'll have the answer. So you're going to go through that really swiftly and let them tell you which one is what they primarily do. You'll tally up the numbers at the bottom, and then you're going to have the totals. So cool. Then we have meta programs. And so again, these ones, it's going to be swift. It's a approximately 6 minute assessment. If you're a master practitioner, you could use the full MPVI. Go ahead and do that. Again, it only takes a couple of minutes longer. You're going to do that swiftly and effectively. So there's that. And then we start with the detailed personal history. So make sure you're in the report first. Now, if you've done the other things first, guess what? You're already in report. Oh, one more thing I forgot to mention is eye patterns. Okay, so you'll also elicit their eye patterns, normally organized or reverse organized, and there we go. And so those 3 little exercises are beautiful because it helps build rapport, and by then you will be into a really beautiful rapport. If you're a master practitioner at this point, you can also, let me just get rid of this beeping noise. You can also do the values inventory, coaching values inventory for values levels, which is very powerful when doing any work in relationship and business. Okay, so for master practitioners, you can add that in and you have access to the values inventory in the membership site in resources. So there we go. That's that bit, which is all that pre-work. Then we get started with the DPH, the detailed personal history. So what I would also recommend is, because you are establishing rapport, also get used to breaking rapport with your client. Well, don't get used to it, but do it. Break rapport with them, and then learn how to be able to, boom, quickly reestablish that rapport. It's a really good exercise. So you know exactly how you can get back in if and when you need to. So great. Remember, throughout this entire process, one of the words that we never use until we get to values is the question why. And we don't ask the question why because why keeps people at the effect. Why keeps people at the reasons why they are where they are, and why they're not out of their problem, and why they're still where they are, and all of the rest of it. And it allows them to really justify their point of view, and allows them to just marinate in their monkey mind, in that, crazy narrative BS that goes on inside of their mind, also known as their inner critic, right? So we want to use the meta model questions such as how, what if, who, and so on. Remember to also use the frame as if. The as if frame is a beautiful frame in the context of the client saying, I don't know. Well, of course you don't know consciously. So act as if you did know, and ask your unconscious mind, if you did, right? What would the answer be? So as if you did know is the statement. Okay, so you can use that in however way you want to, but you would have heard me say, I know you don't know this consciously, your unconscious mind does. So, as if you did know, what would you say at the unconscious level? So the as if frame is really, really powerful as a reframe when clients are in, I don't know. Of course they don't know consciously. Remember what happens? They're so in the emotion of their problem and they're so up against their problem they can't see their problem. And that's why they're with you. And that's why we're supporting each other. And why all coaches need coaches, and why you need to be in the mentorship if you're not, to keep you moving forward and creating what it is that you want as a coach and an entrepreneur. Right? Yes. And if you're not investing in yourself as a coach, why should anyone invest in you? That's my belief. So, good. First question, why are you here? And write down what they give you. Now, when you did practitioner, you would have heard me say, write down everything word for word, and still do that. However, you can be a little bit more flexible, but I don't want to ultimately it's best to write down word for word. But let's say, for an example, they're saying, I lived in this big, beautiful, amazing tanned house, there's certain content about the big, amazing tanned house that are not relevant. I lived in a big house, right? Or whatever the language was. Make sure you're not using your own language. You're still using their language. So I might have changed the language a little bit there, but there may be a couple of words that you could miss out that are just not relevant. However, if you're not sure on what those words are, then write word for word what they say. Remember to frame up in the beginning too. I'm going to be taking notes and I'm going to be writing down word for word what you say. And so there may be times when I slow you down, I stop you, ask you to repeat what you say. And so would that be okay? Get their agreement? Absolutely. Good. Awesome. And the reason why I'm doing it is because it's really important that I understand the structure of the language that you're using. How you say what you say is actually really, really important and really relevant. And so, yeah, that's what we're doing. And so you can explain that to them. So you let the client empty out with all the things that they want to be working on in their life. Okay. Now, for purposes of speed, you guys could just stay in the context of what you're working in. If you're working on business, then just share what you're here for in that context, okay? Just so we can move through things. So if you're working with a client, then they would say, I'm here because my life sucks. I'm here because I've just got this monkey mind. I'm overthinking and I feel depressed and blah, blah, blah. And why else are we here? Well, I keep fighting with my wife. Oh, why else? Oh, well, I feel like I'm 10 kilos heavier than what I'd like to be, right? So it's whatever it is that they give you, let them dump out and empty out all of the things that are not working in their life. And then, you're getting some ideas of where they need support. So you could also, as I mentioned before, you can be saying, cool, we're doing a breakthrough in business, but you also mentioned your health and your relationships aren't working so well. So let's do another breakthrough session on one of those areas. What do you reckon? Cool. So that's where we start. Now we work with the problem. And so firstly, we're going to start with the presenting problem. And so you said that you're here because you're not getting the results that you want in your business, let's say. So how do you know you have that problem? Well, I find myself procrastinating. I find myself just hiding and not wanting to show up. Okay. So that's how they might know that they're not getting the results that they want. And so this is what they see. This is what they know. This is in their conscious awareness. And so when we get what we get, then we're going to move straight to here and elicit the strategy for this presenting problem. So you procrastinate, you hide, what goes on? And what is the behavior when you procrastinate? So it could be that they're hiding. So if they said first, I procrastinate, well, what's the behavior? So you want to ask them, how do you behave when you're procrastinating? And they might say, I just I go to bed and I sleep. Great. So that's the behavior for the presenting problem. And so now they may just say, no, I just put things off. I just, like my behavior is procrastinating. That is also a behavior. And I just keep, saying, no, I'll do it tomorrow, whatever. So it may be that. So you just decipher that and work that out. So it could be procrastination. It could be, hiding and going to bed, whatever the behavior. The problem is you're going to put that in this box here. Okay. So you would just simply, oopsie, I don't want that. I don't want to do that. Actually, I actually wanted this one. So here you would just write, let's say shutdown is a good example of what someone might do. Right? So it's not going to go in the actual box for me. So, right, anyway, that would go there in the box. So that's, as you would say, describe the behavior simply, ultimately in 1 or 2 words, and they'd say shut down. Okay, cool. So that's the behavior of the problem. Can you remember a specific time when you did the shutdown? How did you know it was time to shut down? What were you feeling right before you shut down? Then whatever emotions they give you, then you would write in here, let's say they say scared. Wow, that's really big. Can I change that? No. Here we go. So let's say that's all in the box, right? Scared, hurt, guilty, and so on. And so however many they give you, you're writing that inside the box. And see, what we're doing is we're cutting all of the content out, and we're accessing already all of the negative emotions that we're going to be releasing for them and with them. So it's really powerful. And of course, what that does is that ends up changing their strategy. Okay. So, and that's step number 2. And then 3 is, can you remember a specific time when you did the shutdown? How did you know it was time to feel scared, hurt, and guilty? What was going on? And they'll be like, I heard the tone of my partner's voice that said blah. Okay, so that would be what? Auditory, external, and it's tonal. So I'd put A, E, and you could also put tonal there as well. So let's do that. Okay, and then we go here just after you heard the tone of your partner's voice, just after that happened, and just before you felt scared, hurt, guilty, what was going on inside your head? Now, if you needed to, you could say, did you see a picture of something? Did you hear a certain voice? Did you say something to yourself? Yeah, I said something to myself. Cool. So that goes here. Auditory, digital. And you could say, what did you say? And then if you, or they might already tell you, and you could just write that down there. It's important to also, know the language that they're giving, because we can change that as well when and if we need to. All right, cool, awesome. So that's that. I'll just change that. So I think that deletes it. Yeah, perfect. So now we have the strategy for the presenting problem. Perfect. Next, we see if they can do it now. Can you do it now? Can you do the shutdown now? So let them try it on. And they'll say, yes, if you can, it's great. So you can even say that if you can, it's good. Like, doesn't matter. If you can do it, amazing. And if you can't, that's amazing too. So if they say yes, then you elicit the strategy for how they just did that, how they just created that. It has to be internal. As you see here, it has to be an internal picture or an internal voice that they hear. I mean, it could be a kinesthetic feeling as well. But generally it's going to be one of those. And then what happened next, what happened next, what happened next. And so you would elicit the strategy for how they do it now. Now we've got the presenting problem. Now we move to the root cause of the problem. Okay. So, all right. So you shut down. You procrastinate and then you shut down. Well, how is that a problem? Okay, so you're just going to continue to chunk down from whatever the presenting problem is that they've given you, and you're going to chunk down until you understand how the problem is a problem for the client and how it is that they've got to this position where they're just unable to solve it for themselves. So keep asking, how is it a problem? Keep chunking down. If you get to not good enough, not worthy, keep chunking down. What's the behavior that they do when they do, I'm not good enough, right? So, I mean, just don't worry about that. Just keep chunking down, and eventually you're going to, write down what they say, and then you get to this question here. If you feel like you've, gone down deep enough, you may or you may not have what you need. But this next question is powerful. Ask your unconscious mind, what is the one problem, the one belief about yourself that if it were gone would cause your life to be changed forever? Now, if they're really trusting their unconscious mind, they'll give you the root cause belief or decision that they have. From my experience, even when they have something like I'm unworthy, there's a decision that's even deeper than that. Could be that I'm unloved, and that leads to being unworthy, and unworthy is inside their conscious awareness. So they'll say what they know. Your job is to get beyond what they know and get really deep into the onion with a U, N-I-O-N, the un or the in, right? When I'm not worthy, I feel insignificant, or I'm incapable of being able to do what I want. I'm incapable of anything. Now, that's just examples. It's not necessarily that. Trust yourself. You have beautiful intuition. You're a light worker, as in you are here as a luminous leader who has phenomenal skills. You would not be here if you didn't have the ability to do this. So trust yourself. Whatever it is that they give you is great. Now, just say up here you got something at the deeper level, and then this one you got something different. Just say here we got I'm unloved, and here we got that I am insignificant, let's say. So what I would do is I would ask them the question. This is obviously not there, but I would ask them the question, which one is deeper? Can even use the analogy of what we want to do. If you think about weeding and pulling out roots, we want to get that deep-rooted root, that one that if we pull that out, it pulls all the other ones out as well. So that's a really great analogy here to communicate to them that we want to make sure that we've got the deepest one, that we're working with that and making the change there, because that's going to be the most long-lasting, powerful change. So then pass it over to them. Whenever in doubt, ask their unconscious mind. Take the pressure off yourself. Their unconscious mind is going to be even more smarter than me, helping you. So always, when in doubt, ask their unconscious mind. So I'd say, so if you were to know, as if you know, right? Same kind of thing. If you were to know, as if you know, same kind of frame, different language. Which one is the deepest? Unworthy or insignificant? And let them tell you what it is. Then from there, you're going to elicit the strategy for the root cause problem. So the problem is, let's say I'm insignificant. Now, you could use the problem, and you could also get a behavior of that. So when you're feeling insignificant, what's the behavior? Could be either or that you're working with. Describe the behavior simply and ultimately in one or two words. What's the behavior of doing insignificant? Can you remember a time? And then you elicit the strategy for the root cause problem, exactly how I did it before. Then you say, great. So just say we're working in the context of business here. Preferred that they elicit the strategy for in the business. Then we go here and we elicit a strategy of doing the problem of insignificant in another context. So relationship. Can you remember a time in the relationship when you did insignificant? So a different context, because how we do the problem in one context is how we do it in all other contexts. One other thing is as you're backtracking a little bit, as you get to here, you want to make sure that you are getting it to 1 or 2 words, okay? Not some convoluted long sentence. If it's procrastination, what causes procrastination, right? If this is, this is not going to be the root cause of the problem, but the cause could be fear of failure, right? Now that may not be the root cause either. Like what will failure mean to you? So, a lot of times people procrastinate because they're scared of failing or scared of being successful, one or the other. Notice here, as we get to number 3, can you remember a specific time when you did the problem? How did you know it was time to feel whatever it was the feelings were they described? Here it says command here. So describe what was going on. Command tone, authoritarian tone. The reason why we do that, and here, what was going on inside your head? Not, can you describe what was going on and what was going on? No, not soft, not fluffy, but authoritarian. And the reason why is because the unconscious mind is the servant leader. The conscious mind does its best to take charge, directs the unconscious mind. So the unconscious mind listens to the authoritarian voice. Okay, so you're acting as that authoritarian voice when you say, tell me what was going on, right? Or describe what was going on. If they go confusion, well, what was happening? Who was there? What were you doing? What caused you to feel those feelings? Okay, so you could expand on the if they do confusion, but remember command tone is really, really important because you're acting as that authoritarian figure taking place of their conscious mind for their unconscious mind to listen to and to respond to you. Another important point here, I was just in flow and obviously not looking at my notes, so now I'm backtracking. But if you were getting something here, let's say it was someone said, I had a voice in my head that was saying, I can't do it. Now, always listen and pay attention to their language. I had a voice in my head that said, I can't do it. Okay, get curious around there. They didn't say, yes, I said I can't do it. They said, I had a voice in my head that said I can't do it. So this is where we get curious and go, was it your voice or someone else's voice? Now, if it was them saying, yes, it was my voice, then that's okay. Usually when they say I, it will be their voice. Now, if they said, I heard someone's voice that said you can't do it, right? Obviously that is not AD, that is auditory internal. So you want to understand whose voice it is. So whose voice is it that said that to you? Mum's, they might say it was mum's voice, it was dad's voice or whatever. So you want to understand how they said it. Get more information about the tone of how they said it. Get clear on if it was their voice, what if someone else said that? Would it work as well? Especially over here as well. When we're getting an auditory external, let's say it was mum that said blah, blah, blah. Well, because this ends up being the trigger, then I would say, well, if I said it to you in that tone, would it work? Could it work? The reason why that's good to understand is also that when you're testing to see if they can run the strategy, let's say they heard mum's voice and mum said, for fuck's sake. Well, if I said to them, for fuck's sake, right, that would be something to trigger them if I wanted to test to see if this works. But you'd need to check to see in the beginning, if I did it, would it still work? Now you would ask them. If I said, for fuck's sake, you're just fucking whatever, then would that still work? And they'll say yes or no. You'll be able to see their sensory acuity and see if your voice would also trigger it the same as what mums did or dads did. And that's really important to know, because it may be the specific tone of that person's voice that causes the trigger, not just the words. So you want to understand that. Is it tonal, or is it just hearing the words auditorily? So this is getting really dialed in, really specific. And so all I'm inviting you to do is just get really, really curious around this, especially when there's auditory sounds, is to know whose voice it is. Is it the tone of the voice, or is it just hearing those words auditorily? Okay, so that would be here. And then here, whose tone, whose voice, would it work if it was someone else saying that, and so on. So those are some really important pieces that I wanted to add in there that I haven't mentioned before, as some extra details for you guys. Okay. So you'll see that strategies are the core of all of this, really, Strategies are key, because strategies are how we do everything. Strategies are everything. And what we're doing is uncovering the strategies. So if you do this, and when you do this really, really well, this is going to uncover so much for you and going to help your client make some massive change. So here, can you do it now? Can they do that root cause problem now? Let's say it was shut down. Can you do that now? Can you shut down right now? If I said to you, fucking fuck you, to trigger it, would that cause you to shut down? And you can even do that. And you can even use the tone of voice that maybe they've shared with you. You want to be able to trigger them. You want that. You actually want to be able to do that so that you can test them. Okay? So when you do this, the more you do this, you're going to get more and more proficient at it. You're going to get so fast at it, and it's going to come so easy and so second nature. And seriously, guys, this took me a while to get, because I didn't understand strategies the way that you guys do. I was not taught strategies the way you guys have been taught it. And I didn't have the detail that you guys have been given. And this is why I give so much detail, because I didn't have it. And it took me ages to figure out and work out, but you guys have it. Yes, I do give you a lot of information. And yes, that does lead to a little bit of like, fuck, but you've got it. You've got it. You've all practiced this. You know exactly how to do this. Trust yourself and know that you can do this really quickly and really effectively, as long as you stay really curious and continue to put on the problem hat and understand how how they do this problem. So sometimes what happens is when you ask them this question, like let's say, for example, describe what was going on. Yeah. You'll also notice that I've changed the script a little bit here, and I haven't updated it in the other ones. Interesting. All good. Here I've changed it a little bit. So what was the very first thing that caused you to feel? Did you see something or hear something? Okay, it could be that they felt something as well, so you could add that in as well. But generally, if they're doing it right now, I mean, they could do that. Anything's possible. Generally, it's going to be hear or see something when they're just creating it in the now, inside their head. And here is, did you see or hear something in your mind or say something to yourself? Oh yeah, that's because we're listening the strategy of now. Yeah. So that's why it's different. So the script is slightly different there because we're listening the strategy of now. So what I was going to say was sometimes you'll say, describe what was going on, and they'll give you something else. So they won't give you the answer, and they'll mismatch. And you have to reel them back in and know, describe what was going on. What was happening there in that specific event. So again, paying attention, listening, making sure they're answering the question that you're giving them and that they're staying on track. As I've already told you before as well, smart people, let me stop sharing that. Smart people code their strategies in really smart ways, and they avoid going deep into eliciting what it actually is. So take your time with this, be patient. make sure you get it right the way that they do it. It's so fine for you to take your time with this, because this is the foundation of everything. Get this nailed and the rest is easy. All right. So once we've done that, and we've elicited, can they do it now? And you've elicited that strategy if they can. Then you move on to question number 4, and that's how long have you had it? And they might be like, how long have I had what? How long have you had the problem? That root cause problem that we've just highlighted. Okay, don't tell them every single thing. Let them figure it out. Their unconscious mind knows. They're playing the game. Don't fall into the trap. So now that we're in the deep-rooted structure, we're working with all of these following questions are geared around the root cause problem. So how long have you had it refers to how long have you had what's really going on here, not procrastination. No. How long have you had the root cause problem? How long have you had this belief system of being insignificant? Okay. Was there a time? And so they might say, I've had it all my life, since I was born, since so-and-so. Generally, it's going to be there a long time. So you write down everything that they say, word for word. And, you know, the other thing to remember is we've gone from one presenting problem down to the deep-rooted structure. Okay, we've gone layer, down. Now, is that presenting problem the only presenting problem? No, there's probably many. But the good thing is that when we get down to the deep-rooted structure and we clean up here, presenting problem 1, presenting problem 2, presenting problem 3, presenting problem 4, all of that is going to also be cleaned up. So this is why it's so powerful to get to the root cause and solve that problem there. Because when we solve that problem, we solve all of the others. Yay! Happy dance. Whoop, whoop. So how is that a problem? When we get to the root structure, we're looking for the un or the in. And it's usually a word that they believe about themselves. Okay? So, yes. Anything else here? At this point, right, when you've helped them identify the root cause of the problem, already it's like, bing, light bulb moments. Because something that they didn't even realize was there has now been brought to the surface. It is profound. It is so powerful. Okay, it is so, so powerful. Powerful beyond measure. They're already going to be mind blown. Because something that was outside of their awareness is now like, boom, right in front of them. They can see it. So this is healing in itself. I've worked with clients, many clients with depression, as you know. One of my clients, at this point, she was dumbfounded. And she'd been through years and years of therapy and counseling and lots of different things. And she was just like, holy moly, I cannot believe that we got to this so quickly. And it was just like everything opened up for her. Everything becomes so clear. It was like, oh my God, all of the dots just were brought together for her. Now, it could happen like that for a client. And for others, it will take the rest of these questions for them to connect the dots. So initially what we're doing is we're creating awareness. We're awakening them to what has been unseen. So now at question 4, we're continuing to create more awareness by getting them to consider how long have they had it, and was there ever a time when they didn't have it? And what have you done about it? So these are really important questions because we want to know, since when have they had it? We want to know, can they not do the problem? Because if there was a time when they didn't have it, then the good news is they also have a strategy for not doing it. Okay, so you could also elicit that strategy. So how, and we get to that anyway. Is there ever time, when do you not do it? So, and what have you done about it? This is important because in this first detailed personal history, my take on this is I'm still, even though the client's paid and we've started, I am still interviewing them, so to speak. I'm still working out if I'm still going to work with them, because we could get through all of this, we could get to the end piece, and then something happens, they say something that's not in alignment, that's not actually them willing to play it 100%, or it's not a model learnt behavior, and I would need to ecologically say, I can't help you. Okay, so remember this. What have you done about it? It gives us a lot of information about them. If they've gone to therapists and this and that and all these different things, it gives us an idea. Generally, I already know this anyway, because it's one of the questions I ask in my, kind of pre-client questions. But it's important to know what have they done about it. And if they've worked with a lot of other people, then I'll give even heavier tasking, because a lot of times then there's secondary gain for not, getting rid of the problem. And it's just, that there could be an identity attached to having the problem, because I've had so many people not be able, that they haven't been able to make it work with. But of course, it's always the other person's fault. So it's good information. So number 5 is what happened the first time you had it. Or this, what emotions were present? And so what's beautiful about this question is we're, again, cutting out a lot of the content and just want to identify what emotions were there. They could, of course, they're going to give you some content as well, and they might describe a little bit about what went on, but notice the question isn't so much about describe what went on, but more about what happened the first time you had this, what emotions were present. So even though we're asking what happened, the final question is what emotions were present. So generally what they're going to do is just tell you, I felt blah, 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 and I felt not good enough, and I felt this, and then great, because that's ultimately what we want. Yes, we do want some language as well, because language gives us a lot of an idea of, what they believe and how they think and so on. But we also want this process to be really streamlined. We want to get to the emotions, we want to get to the decisions, the limiting beliefs, and rewire it. And so the fastest way possible we can get there, the better. So this is a little bit of a tweak from those who are trained in Master Prac. The question that we ask it in the detailed personal history of Master Prac is just what happened the first time you had this. It's an open-ended question. So this has been altered a little bit to really go straight in. Now, at this point, they're profoundly aware of what the greater problem is and how long they've had it, and, what happened the first time it started. And, so now it's like becoming more and more aware. The awareness is just continuing to expand and expand, expand, expand. And the dots are starting to be brought together. Next is, have similar events happen since then and what emotions were present. And so basically they're just going to come back along the timeline from the first event and share a similar event and what emotions were present there. And you'll just continue, and the next event and the next event and the next event. So as we go to, Sue's got lots of space for notes here, because you're going to continue asking that same question number 6. Let's say the first event happened when they were born, and then they have similar events happen since then, and what emotions were present. I always ask them how old they were. So at this event, how old were you? And they might say I was 4. Cool. So at this event, emotions were blah, blah, blah. Decision or beliefs were blah, blah, blah. Cool. Whatever they're writing, you're writing down word for word. And then you ask this question again. Okay, so have similar events happened since then? What emotions were present? So then they go, yep, after that was 10. And then they'll just maybe describe a little bit about what happened and then what emotions were present. And then, cool, and what similar events have happened since then. So you're basically going from the age now, and just continuing along their timeline, just saying have similar events happen since then. Again, you don't want them giving you every single event. You don't want them giving you, like 50 million events. You want the main ones, the significant emotional events. And so then maybe if they're, wanting to give you lots of details, they may give you like 5 or 6. They may give you more, but you can stop them. If you already can see, the goal here is for them to be able to really see the pattern, to see this pattern. That, yeah, there was an event at this age, and there was an event at this age, and then there was another this age. And they're going to start to see that there is a pattern that's occurred with this greater problem. And so you may get to 5 or 6 and be like, you know what, are there any other major ones that you need to tell me about to speed it up? You don't tell them that you're going to speed it up, but in your mind, that's what you're doing. As long as you know that they're starting to join the dots and see the pattern occurring, then you can be like, good, tell me any other major ones that happened since then, what emotions were present, and I'm going to stop you there because we have enough. Okay, that's a point where you may need to stop them and cut them off and say, we've got enough. Good, awesome. Then we move to the next question, which is number 7. Where is it? Did I pass it? No. Which is, what is the relationship between these events and your current situation in life? Current situation in life, meaning, oh, life's shit, life's fucked, oh, I don't want to live anymore, oh, I'm depressed and I hate my life and my relationships aren't working and all that, right? It's what they complain about. It's their situation in life, as in big picture. So what is the relationship between all these events and your current situation in life? Is it same, similar, or different? So generally, it's going to be same or similar because it all has led to where they are right now. So the goal is for them to see that it is related, that it is the same and it's caused where they are now, or that it's similar and that has impacted where they are now, okay? If they're saying it's different, then they're completely disconnected and you'd need to reframe, okay? So then we move on to B, and is there a relationship between this problem and problems in other areas of your life? Yes or no? Notice the question there. Cuts the story and it gives them a double bind. They have to answer either yes or no. I think I'm not sharing my screen anymore. Sorry, guys. So here was 7 and here is 7B. So yeah, it's yes or no. It's a double bind. So they have to answer. Good. Now, if they were to say yes, you could also say, oh, I'm just curious. What's the relationship? You could ask for more content if you feel that you need it. And then C, will any of these problems stop you from solving this problem? Yes or no? Another double bind question. And what's important here again is, well, here is important as to what they say. Just going to have a drink of water. So if they were to say, yes, it will stop me from solving this problem, then this problem is the greater problem. You haven't got the greater problem, which is good to know. So you would then need to explore that and uncover that and go back and go, right, okay, so what's really going on here? We aren't where we thought we were. Now, if they say no, it won't, perfect. Then that's going to help to clean up those problems, potentially. Next is 8. And so this question is, what is the relationship between your current situation and your mother? Did she or does she do the problem? Yes or no? Again, it's a double-blind question. This cuts a lot of the story and just gets us straight to the heart of what we need. We need to understand where and if this behavior has been learned behavior, if it's been modeled from someone else. We want to find out where they learned it from and understand the extent of this problem within their family environment. Now, same thing. Did your father do the problem? Yes or no? Did siblings do the problem? Yes or no? Spouse do the problem? Yes or no? Anyone else that they, were brought up by or spent a lot of time with, you'd insert there. And then, is there anything else you need to tell me? Tell me about any of the above relationships which have to do with the problem that you haven't told me yet. What I love about how this is structured is, again, it keeps it really streamlined. Less open-ended. Let's just get straight into the heart of it and cut out the story that we don't need. Remember, NLP is not about story. It's not about the content so much. It's about structure. It's about process and strategy, how the client does what they do. And so this is getting straight to the heart of it, and this streamlines the process so much. And it makes it amazing for you as the coach, because it makes it so easy. Great. Next is number 9. Tell me about your childhood in relationship to this problem. Is there anything else I need to know you haven't told me? This gets to the real pain and suffering in their childhood in relationship to the problem. So if there is something that they haven't been able to share up until this point about, some major things, this is the opportunity where they get to share that. And you write down word for word what they say. So you're going to be getting more content here, which is perfect, because we need some content, don't we? We just want to make sure it's relevant to the problem and not off track. And all these questions are geared to help stay directly on track, right where we want to be, so that we can have a really effective, detailed personal history, stay on track, stay on point, streamline it. And that means effectiveness all round. Don't you love this? I'm loving it for you, and to be able to deliver this for you. Next, number 10. Okay, so all of those questions, kind of 3 to 9, are all about awareness, bringing out into their awareness what has been unseen up until this point. Magic. That's like joining the dots. Like, oh my God, that comes from there. That's my model, that off my mom. Now, let's say, for an example here, they say no to all of the questions. No one in my family does it. I would get really, really curious. I've never had that personally. It could be possible. I would definitely uncover who they spent most of their time with growing up to see if there was anyone else that they lived their life modeled off. And if it was not a learned behavior, then I would most likely stop and reconvene, because NLP, the work that we do as coaches, is working with behaviors that are learned behavior, and the majority of behaviors are learned behavior. So yeah, if that was to happen there, then you would probably stop there. So number 10, is there a purpose for the problem? Now we're getting to the real, now it's time for you to take ownership of this problem, which can feel a little bit like in the face, which is perfect. So with a nice command voice, is there a purpose for this problem? Yes or no? If they say no, then a reframe is going to be really important here. So what I would suggest, there's a couple of things you can do. There's many things you can do, actually. You may need a paradox to loosen the model of the world. I'll give you that in a moment. You also could say something like, well, in a perfect world where we create everything, right, where we are the creators of all things in our life, wouldn't you say that there was a purpose for this problem then, seeing as you are a creator of everything in your life? I mean, I'm talking about in a perfect world, of course. But ask your unconscious mind, again, is there a purpose for this problem, yes or no? That could help reframe it for them. Ultimately, you need to stay here in this process to reframe them. And of course, we need to also, when we get to B, uncover all of the secondary gain, if there is any. Now, everything that we create, every behavior always has a higher purpose. Okay, you guys know that. So let's say, for an example, the client says, okay, let's say they do say yes. Okay, they could say no, but let's say they say yes. Because this paradox can work when they say yes for this particular reason I'm going to give you, but also when they say no. So let's say they say yes, there is a purpose. Great. Now, A, ask your unconscious mind, what is the purpose or the reason for having this problem? Command tone, okay? So you do that in a nice, strong, authoritarian voice because you're speaking with your unconscious mind. And they say, it protects me. Now, this could interfere with them solving the problem. Think about it. Try the problem on. Okay. Well, if they have this problem because it's here to protect them, then it's serving them in a positive way that could interfere with them actually solving it because they think it protects them, so they need to keep it. That could be possible. We never jump to the island of conclusion because remember, it's a long swim back. However, we get curious about that. And we also need to hold them accountable to, you know, what's going on up there. So what you're saying is this problem, let's say the problem is X, equals Y. The problem is X, so I'm using example X equals Y. The problem is X, and that equals protection, correct? Right, so X equals Y in that case. So the question is, if 100X, if it was 100X, then does that mean that also equals 100Y? So if it's 100X fucked up, then would you be 100X protected? And they would probably say no. 100X fucked up, 100X protected. No, because it's 100X fucked up. Great, okay, so then X can't equal Y then, can it? I mean, think about in the case of abuse, right? That's a pretty fucked up X problem. So that means that there's a bit of a problem with the formula, wouldn't you say? Yeah, absolutely. So see how all of these questions are open-ended questions, offering yes, no answers. So would X problem equal Y? And you would offer another suggestion. Now, the key is to keep holding them accountable to another possibility because they're only inside their own model of the world and they're not able to see outside of it. Your job is to get them accountable to actually take ownership for this, to flip it, ultimately is to flip it. So through this languaging, what we're able to do is actually explode out the problem using calculus, using math. Because 100 fucked up X or fucked X does not equal 100 times more protected if it's 100 times more fucked up or a fucked up problem, right? Whatever the problem is. So again, it's all reframing, and this is where the paradox is. So if the problem was something pretty fucked up and you're saying that it's about protection, does X fucked up equal keep you safe? But it's protecting you, but it's actually not keeping you safe. Right? Can you see that? So that's an example of how you may need to loosen someone's model of the world. And some of this may or may not make sense to you. It's very, a higher logical level of comprehension from prac level. And that's why you need to come to master prac. Because your understanding of all this will just go to a whole nother level, which is beautiful. So, okay, aside from that, when we get the reason or the purpose for the problem, they're starting to take ownership. Okay, yep, the reason for this problem is, and you're listening to their language. Now, if they do say protection, if they do say to keep me safe, if they do say things like that that are actually secondary gain potentially, because it's what I know, blah, 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 whatever like that, then you've got to, be aware of that and loosen their model of the world and call it to their attention. Why else is B? Why else? Why else? Why else? Why else? Why else is this problem here, right? What else is the purpose of this problem? And you stay here until you discover any and all of the secondary gain. And so if you do have words that are related to secondary gain meaning that they feel that the problem is actually giving them a greater benefit than not having it, then you need to loosen their model of the world and you need to call it to their attention. Okay, you really need to speak into it and you need to reframe. So at the unconscious level, they're actually ready to give that up. And if you do that well, then amazing. So if they say something like the purpose of this problem is for me to learn what I here to learn, that is an example of a really good purpose, because they realize actually it's just here to teach me. It's not secondary gain because they just know that they've got to learn it. Notice the difference between, yep, the purpose is for me to learn this so that I can actually be a better person. That is not an example of secondary gain. Secondary gain could be to keep me safe, to protect me, to keep me in what I know. That could be an example of more secondary gain versus something that's actually positive learning for them to get out of it and realize that actually this is a good thing. Okay, so pay attention to that. Then we go to number 11, and what I want to say here, all of this from 10 is about getting them to cause. It's getting them to take ownership. That actually, yep, there's a purpose for this problem and I created it, which is 11, even more so. This is massive ownership here. Yeah? This puts them at cause, because the question is, ask your unconscious mind, when did you choose to have this situation be created? Listen to the language. And they have to accept at the unconscious level that they chose it. They chose to create this situation. Now, if they were like, I didn't create it, then you've got to loosen their model of the world. Get into deeper rapport with them. Again, reframe if you need to. When did you choose to have this situation be created? They might say, I chose it when I was in the womb, or I chose it here, or I chose it there, I chose it then. Good. And why did you choose it? Right? We're asking why there, but I would always reframe, for what purpose did you choose it at that point? We've already kind of asked that above, but why also works here. So why did you choose it? Putting them at cause. Goes a little bit against what I said earlier, but anyway, we use this question here. It works. Great. Number 11, puts them at cause. Next is ask your unconscious mind. This is a beautiful question. Is there anything your unconscious mind wants you to know that which, if you got it, would allow the problem to disappear? Yes or no? If they say yes, then you say, good, what is it? What does it want you to get? And their unconscious mind is going to give you some absolute gold and magic here. I love this part of the process because it's where everything sinks in. It's like light bulb on. Magic happens right here, guys. Magic happens. They get exactly what they need to get. They get the learning, the wisdom, the knowledge is all inside of them. And it becomes so clear here with this question, if not earlier. And there's so many presuppositions in this language here, like it's just so powerful. There's like 7 presuppositions in this one question. Next is there anything you're not getting? Again, loaded with presuppositions here, which if you got it, would allow the problem to disappear, yes or no? If they say yes, what is it that it wants you to know? And you're going to get some absolute golden magic here again. And possibly the client will cry. You've entered their soul. If they had been in counseling or psychotherapy, they still would have been talking about their story. How potent is this, guys? Get so excited about this. You're going to be doing this with your client. With your clients. Helping people make radical, fast change. It's phenomenal. Great. Next, number 13. Is it okay with your unconscious mind to support us in removing this problem and for it to allow you to have an undeniable experience of it when we're complete? Yes, it's okay. If they're like, no, it's not okay, then red bells, red sign bells, red alarms going off, right? So they need to agree with that. Just FYI. 14, evidence procedure. How will you know when this problem's totally disappeared? This is so key, so important. Remember, it must be evidence based on behavior, specific, simple, measurable, meaningful, achievable, as if now, realistic, all of that. Like when setting goals, not kinesthetic, not states, not values. No, actual evidence-based behavior. Must be behavior. So if they say, yeah, I just, oh no, because I'll be happy. No, well, how will you know when you're happy? I'm laughing. I'm going out and doing more things that I enjoy, like dancing and partying and going out with friends for drinks. Like that's a behavior. That is evidence, guys, not just being happy. That is not evidence. No Ks, no kinesthetics, okay? So if they give you a kinesthetic, you ask, well, how would you behave? Must be behavior. Could also be sensation, heaviness, lightness. They can tell that difference. That is a measurable thing. Okay, so that could work as well. Get all of the things, as many things as you can. Okay, I've got lots of space here for you to write that in for number 8. So just write that down here. So they say, oh, I'll be happy. Okay, well, what will be the behavior? I'll be smiling, I'll be laughing, I'll be exercising, I'll be in a morning ritual, whatever it is. Write as many things, and what else, 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 until they say that's it. Just keep going, as many things as you can, because that's beautiful evidence procedure, and we'll be able to fill their convincer with all of those things that they've mentioned as we go back and check back in. Next is, so when we get rid of blah, which is the root cause problem, goes here, will the presenting problem totally disappear? And they should say yes. Great. Whew. Okay, lots of talking. All right, needed a little pit stop. Whew. So when do you not do the problem is next. We're going to elicit the strategy for when they do not have the root cause problem. So it's pretty simple. When they do not do the problem, what do? You could elicit, write down the behavior there, describe the behavior simply, and then elicit the strategy. Pretty easy. Next is, and we do this because we want to understand how they don't do it and install that for them at the unconscious level more often. And we can utilize it later. So 16 is elicit the internal representations of their best self, imagining being the very best version of yourself. So you ask them that question, who are you being when you're at your absolute best? And as you think of that person, do you have a picture? And then you elicit the submodalities, black and white or color, bright or dim, and so on. And you're just going to elicit using that checklist right there, okay? And you'll write best self up here on number 1. You're going to keep that because we're going to need it later on, okay? So, yeah, beautiful. Cool, okay. 17, all right. So these questions here is not the problem, okay? This is them in their best self. So 15, 16 is about them being in their power, them being in the best version of themselves. And I want you guys to give them a gift, and I want you to see them as magnificent right from the get-go. You know, that is the greatest gift that you can give your client, is seeing them as their best self, even before they can see themselves, see that themselves. Look at your client as magnificent. Anchor them as being magnificent. Anchor that in yourself of seeing them as magnificent. Yeah. The problem is always separate to them. They are not their behavior. Okay. You know that already. That's one of the NLP presuppositions. And when you're complete with all of this, that part of them that is operating in that certain way is going to fuck off, and they're going to be able to reconnect back to this. And so you already see this as possible right from the get-go, right from the beginning, before they can see it. You've got to be able to have that in your vision. You've got to be able to see that already. Get out of your head. This is not about you. This is about them. This is about you seeing them as their magnificent self. You gift them with that. Can you do that? Absolutely you can. Focus on that. Take the focus out of yourself and into your client. See them as their most magnificent self, just as I see each and every one of you. You are magnificent. You have so got this. I see all of you rocking this out, and I know that you will, and it's already done. See, I'm doing this for you guys. You do this for your clients. Gift them with this. They will love you forever. See, I believe that each and every one of you are magnificent. I believe that to every piece of my core. I believe how capable you are. I believe how phenomenal you are. I believe how fucking unlimited you are with every single piece of my body, every core, every cell, every atom. And so the reason I know this is because we are a miracle. Just by you being here, the fact that, you know, 2 cells came together, they came together, they split off, they did what they did. You know, there's a single cell that splits off. There's 2 identical cells that come together. Like, it's just magical. The whole concept of how we're conceived and how we are created is phenomenal. Is magnificent in itself. And so the chances of us being who we are and how we are, like, it blows my mind. It literally blows my mind. And I hope you can consider that and see that for yourself, not only in yourself, but in others. It's just fascinating. So nothing, absolutely nothing in science can replicate this natural phenomenon. You're worthy just by who you are and just by being here. All of us are. So see and anchor that person in front of you as being magnificent, and remember that they will operate as your belief system of how they will be able to operate. So what's more important than anything at all, guys? What's more important? Forget it if you don't remember one of the techniques. Leave that at the door when you walk in to start the breakthrough sessions. Leave that shit out. Focus on you in your most empowered state, being fucking capable and that you can do anything. You've got step-by-step guidelines here, guys. You cannot get it wrong. You can only nail this. I've prepared you for this. You've prepared yourself for this. So, only thing you need to be concerned about is being in a peak state, seeing them as magnificent, being prepared to get curious, try on their problem, understand how the problem is a problem, listen, be a great listener. Most importantly, seeing them having the success that they want. That belief that they can achieve what it is that they want goes like far exceeds whether or not you remember how to do a technique or not. The belief that you believe they're going to have a successful breakthrough is more important than anything else. That is more important than anything else. The belief that they're going to fucking break through, because they're going to do it, not you. They're going to do it because you believe that they can. Okay? That's all you need to be concerned with. Believe. Belief is everything here. It is everything. The client will only perform to that which you believe that they can. Don't rip them off. Fully believe that they are capable of creating the results that they want and breaking through, and they will. That's all you need to do. The rest is easy. And that's easy too, because you're just putting your belief in somebody else. You don't need to believe in yourself, just believe in someone else. That is all I'm asking. Believe in someone else. And then someone else is going to exchange that for you. Okay? That's what I'm asking of you. Great. So next we're going to move down here to the keys to achieve, keys to achievable outcome. So at minimum, you're going to ask these 4 questions. You could use all of page 10, but this is enough. What are the goals? What do they want? Where are they now with having achieved those goals? So if 10 is I have the goals, where are they now in terms of having what they want? So they might give you a 1 or a 2 or a 3, whatever. So what will you see, hear, and feel when you have it? Pretty straightforward. And is it ecological? Cool. Cartesian coordinates. These are so important. These are so powerful, guys. So, so powerful. So the question is, what would happen if you did? What would happen if you did achieve what you want? We're getting positives here, okay? What would happen if you didn't? We're getting the negations, the negatives here. What wouldn't happen if you didn't? We're also getting more negations. And what wouldn't happen if you did? And we're getting the positives. So positive, positive, negative, negative in terms of what they want, not what they want. Okay, so when you're eliciting this, you're going to have to draw it out, especially when we get to these questions here, because they're a little bit of a mind mess up, especially these 2. So what would happen if you did? What else? And 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 what else? Keep getting as many as you can until they're like, that's it, cool. And what would happen if you didn't? What else? What else? What else? What else? What else? Just keep eliciting, keep drawing it out by asking what else. These can be painful. When you're eliciting the negative, that can hurt, and they will do the mismatching thing. They will avoid it. They will want to, not go there. But your job is to guide them. Come on, put yourself out there in the future. What will happen if you don't get what you want? This is creating some pain, and we can use this later on if we need to. Okay? The truths come out as we get here. Okay? The truths start to really come out, which is why these questions are so powerful, because they really dig deep. They get the client thinking outside of, again, what they know, what they can see in front of them, because it brings things outside of their conscious awareness. It could feel a little bit deep. It could feel a little bit painful and a little bit dramatic for them. And that's okay. All right? because this is a very powerful set of questions. Their biggest fears, their biggest joys will be inside of here. And we want all of it. All of it, all of it, all of it. Okay, cool. Awesome. We're almost there. So then we get to the frames. And the frames, you know, at this point, you know, you're also deciding whether or not you can help them. And, you know, I mean, well, I've missed some questions. I feel like I've missed some questions. Yeah, I have. Okay, I'm going to just back it up a little bit. So 17 is really key, because this part really determines whether or not you're going to work with them, as well as the modeling piece, if it's a behavior. So are you willing, right, to play it 100%? Are you willing to do anything? Now, if they're like, oh yeah, but I'm not willing to jump off a harbour bridge, it's like, well, I'm not talking about anything ridiculous, but are you willing to do anything, yes or no? Use your sensory acuity, observe. I've had people fool me and I've bought into it and it's been disaster. So what are you not willing to do? And again, listen, if it's something completely unrealistic, then, you know, that's just dumb. But, you know, it's all about, we're talking about being realistic. And if they say that, you know, I'm willing to do whatever it takes, and they're like so rock solid in that, then that's great. That's a good indication they're going to be a great client. Ask your unconscious mind, what change to the current lifestyle may need to be made. Okay, and because this can get in the way of them actually playing 100%, because a lot of things that changes that need to be made can be very confronting. Let's say if they're smoking, they need to quit smoking. Let's say if they're drinking, they need to stop drinking. Let's say they are in a relationship and they need to tell their partner something that they've been hiding their whole life. That can be confronting. That's a change they're going to need to make in some way, shape, or form, right? So this issue may be the most important, because if the intervention goes perfectly, if the client does not make specific changes in behavior, circumstance, or situation, it still may not work. So this is super important to understand. And are you willing to fully accept the benefits of this change? Wow, I love this question so much. Listen for double binds or secondary gain in their answers. Any sign of them not willing to take full responsibility, they will not be a good client. And I highly, highly, highly recommend, if they're not rock solid in these answers, then you say, you're not ready. You're just not ready. I wish I had the guts to say that. And I actually wish I had someone tell me this and give me this formula, because I had to learn the hard way. But you know what? It's good to learn the hard way, because now I'm here able to teach you guys all of this, you know, so I don't regret it. But I also am all about fast tracking and learning things, you know, shortcut, which is why I'm giving you guys the shortcut. How about that? So, you know, it's all on purpose. I get it. It's all perfect. However, it still would have been lovely to get this information, because it's not enough for the client to be 99.9% committed to change. It needs to be 100%. 0.1% is still, that could fuck up the whole process. It's like 0.1% committed to failure, and that's enough to sabotage success. I don't know about you, but I want my clients to get results, like epic results. Which leads to, you know, the importance of tasking and why they need to show up 100% with tasking. Sometimes I let them off the hook, but again, I trust my intuition, but also sometimes it's not benefiting the client. Generally, it's not. Okay. Letting them not do their tasking is actually a disservice, because this is all about 100% commitment. 100% commitment. It is a big commitment, and why the majority of people aren't willing to commit at this level. when they do, when they're willing, and why you need to charge good money. And we'll talk about what you're going to be charging. But it has to be like good money. Seriously, guys, at least at a practitioner level, $1,500 minimum, if not more. $2,000, $2,500, at least at master practitioner, $3,000. I believe Curtis is charging three and a half for his breakthroughs. He's a master practitioner. That's what he's charging. So, yeah, it helps. The more you charge, the better results you get. And remember, what you charge is not a reflection on you. It's about them committing. Okay. So you set up the frames here, talk them through what it means to be 100%, responsible, and, they would have already agreed to this now, taking responsibility, tasking, because all these things you would lay out in the contract that they would have already signed. So yeah, you talk about perceptions, projection, cause and effect, results and feedback, all of these things, which you can show them, the little pieces that I've given you. At least explain the most important prime directives of the unconscious mind, at least the prime directives, the big six, prime directives, the really important ones that they need to really be aware of. And using language, like, so in the future now, your unconscious mind will present those opportunities that need to be healed, right? You can just play around with language. And then the 3 requisites for change, which they should have already agreed to as well and should be in the agreement, need to be outlined, and I would recommend outlining those in every single session. Teach them peripheral vision. Remember peripheral vision, learning to take their eyes out of this foveal view and expand the awareness 360. Also listen to sounds and kinesthetic feeling. Now that teaches people how to be in the moment, to be present. It's a beautiful technique, and it's installed throughout the entire process because most people either live in the past or they live in the future. And so giving them tasking to live in the present moment is really, really powerful, which is why I've included it as part of the tasking. What I would also highlight here to them is, all right, listen, clearing the past negative emotions, past conflicts, incongruent values, and so on, that is the work that we do together. Now, we're going to be working together. In the case of doing a breakthrough, we work 6 weeks together, and then there's an 8-week period, and then you do a follow-up after 8 weeks. You could do it after 4 weeks if you wanted, but I'm saying 8, okay? Now, if you think about how many hours are in that period, that's 6 weeks plus 8 weeks, 24 hours a day. So that ends up equaling 6 weeks is 1,008 hours in 6 weeks, and in 8 weeks there's 1,344. So plus there's an additional hour check-in. So hang on, let me just think, what am I doing here? Yeah, so anyway, so it's 2,376. Think about the number of hours that we're going to work with the client for about 13 hours, 12 hours over the 6 weeks, and then a 1-hour follow-up. So that makes 13 hours. The total number of hours in that period is 2,376. 12 hours out of 2,376. That's a lot of time that you're not spending with them, right? So they need to develop new behaviors, healthy boundaries, take actions on learnings, behaviors, enforcing boundaries, tasking. They need to focus on what they want relentlessly. Remind them of their evaluations become suggestions to their unconscious mind, right? This is important, highlighting the hours that you're spending with them versus the amount of time that you are not with them. The responsibility is on them. All those hours that you're not there, only this part you're with them, and they will get it. Okay? So this is, yeah, final piece here of, you know, teaching them peripheral vision, teaching them resource anchors, and how to build a resource anchor. You guys all know how to do that, and it's pretty easy to teach how to do it, so that the client knows how to create a positive resource anchor. You just teach them, you know, use a knuckle, use the same pressure, same point, don't touch anywhere else. I would usually, you know, show them like this. When they go to a peak of a state or feel themselves going into a state, notice that they're going to state, they can anchor it, and only anchor it until the point when they're still in the peak. If they're about to come out of it, then they can let it go. So you just teach them that. Super simple. And then you would issue them with their tasking. In the case of when you guys are working together on Saturday and Sunday, you're not going to obviously issue the tasking, because you're just going to zoom past that bit and go straight to step number 2. Although for you guys, you're going to pause here and have a break, and you're going to go back and analyze all of your notes, and you're going to be highlighting, circling, and creating your plan. Okay, and we'll get to that. I'm going to have a break there, and I'll see you guys on the next video.